Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News. We are nearing the end of the World Championship for 2022. Only 6 teams remain in the tournament after last night's matches, but also some further updates on the drama between Zombs and ShahZaM from a few days ago. Zombs reckoning the drama is now pretty much at an end. They can agree to disagree on this situation. They still might not like each other, but at least they can say, yes, let's draw a line under this for now. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to discuss today. First of all, just wanted to talk real quick about 100 Thieves because we believe up there with Sentinels, they are probably the most likely organization to get through to franchising. What does their roster look like for next year? We know that Asuna, I would be highly surprised if Asuna doesn't stay on that team. But who knows what they're going to do? They're a young team. They could still try and run it back with the same roster. To a certain degree, it maybe depends what DDK and Sean Cares want to do, but look, they picked up these guys, some options that were available, but going into next season, let's say there are some big name players, even TenZ that we did talk about, for example, on Sentinels as he currently is, his contract is at an end. If he wants to leave, he maybe can, 100T TenZ was, we at least discussed the possibility, and if that's an option, the team isn't necessarily going to stay the same. I do think that Asuna and Bang, I think especially would be two that you definitely want to keep. I think that Dephh as well, I really do like a lot of the players on this roster. I do. Is Stella the best IGL? Maybe not. I think that Will as well. No, I think Will's been pretty good, but maybe in his role there are some certain upgrades. He probably wasn't the #1 target they had on their list. So, maybe 100T go into next season and think about making a couple of changes. It depends really who's on the market. But the fact of the matter is, if there are only 6 or 7 North American organizations there's going to be many big name players out there available where 100 of these might have to pull the trigger. So it's going to be an interesting one because Sean Cares, I'm sure, feels like a father figure, I suppose, to some of these guys and will want to maybe run it back as much as possible with these guys, but DDK as the GM is going to be like, well, look, if we've got XYZ option on the market because all these other teams are blowing it up, then we've probably got to consider a move. So yeah, if you were the GM of 100 Thieves, what would you do? Would you run it back with the same roster? At the end of the day, I think they've done great things with this young roster that they put together from scraps really of the community, built them into an actual contender, won the LCQ, went to the World Championship. Of course, didn't quite get through in a very difficult group in fairness to the playoffs, and now they go home. But look, if you don't make it through to the playoffs of the World Championship, the team might not be quite good enough, at which point it might be time to do something. But Bang, I think, has proved his worth massively. Asuna, Derek, I really like all those players. The rest I can kind of go either way on, but maybe they can find better options for all of the players on the team, or maybe they decide to run it back regardless for next season. Just this to say as well on Sick real quick, because I kind of look at his Twitter every couple of days just to see how often he's been streaming, how things have been going, and it does seem like Sick is kind of back in business a bit more. He's been streaming semi-regularly, definitely more than he has done. So that's a question that Sentinels have to answer next year as well. Do they bring Sick back into the starting roster if he's, well to go, which hopefully he will be? What happens to dapr, all these other guys? So big questions do remain, but there could be big name free agents on the market, and of course 100 Thieves as an organization will be top of the list for most of them if they want to join a certain team. Let's dive real quick then into, once again, this Zombs versus ShahZaM drama. We saw a few days ago how this was going. Kind of sad in a way how things happened after, being such a good team and a great IGL combo with Zombs on the roster, and then Zombs came out recently and said, well, he doesn't really think that ShahZaM's IGLing ability was as good as it could have been, telling Zombs often not to really do too much on the map and be pretty static when he should have been more aggressive in making plays. But in fairness, he said, look, it actually was working for us because we were winning events at the time. ShahZaM then went on to respond and say, yeah, I can't believe this guy's saying this. We came up together, we're good friends and all this type of stuff, and Zombs is trying to slander my name to some degree. And then Zombs came back, as we looked at a couple of days ago, and said, yeah, this ShahZaM guy, don't know what he's talking about. I'm not even friends with this guy. I don't even like him. I like the other guys on the team, but didn't really like ShahZaM, and saying ShahZaM's just searching for drama effectively on this. So it's a bit of a messy situation. It's kind of a shame to see these guys come at each other's necks every so often, but yeah, the drama is still there to some degree. But ShahZaM, I think, has kind of tried to play this down and say, look, whatever, I said what I said initially, let's just try and move on from this. I don't really care about the drama. And Zombs goes on to say that, yeah, he doesn't really care about the drama either. So they might be drawing a line under this and agreeing to disagree to a certain extent.
That guy talking about in chat, Dad says he doesn't care. I don't care either. Alright, well, we both don't care. Alright, problem resolved. He said he doesn't care. I just said I don't care. Alright,
grab my gun, grab my Vandal on my body.
GG.
Does anyone else really like this map?
Deficit. Actually, the purchase comes through. It's
I think it's a good map.
It's probably the best map in the game.
Yeah, it's crazy that the 3 bomb site map is one of the best ones.
Yeah, it's quite insane.
Aggression down middle.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's really good because it's really simple. No?
It's like the Dust 2 of Valorant.
Yeah.
The adult Dust 2 is kind of ass, but it's like the staple map.
Yeah, Haven, Ascent, I feel like are the staple
Joining
map.
goal?
Yeah,
Like,
I would
build
agree.
level.
I feel like Ascent is like the Mirage.
Ascent is not a staple.
Back on Fnatic now.
Well, I
think?
feel like.
I mean, it came out late.
Yeah.
but-
I mean, no, it came out fourth. No, Haven, Bind, Split,
He
Ascent.
said who's the British?
Yeah.
Benzo and Mystic can really
You're right, I think.
get anything done.
I mean, I just don't think Icebox, Breeze, Fracture, or Pearl are like.
operator, yes, the contact comes
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not even
There's
sure
like,
if it's
they came out late, and then they're also
relevant
kind of
that
like.
they find that on
I actually like Breeze, but
immediately,
Fracture, Pearl,
sending a player
and
down
Icebox
mid.
are just bad
Vera,
maps.
like you said, safe pair of hands behind screen.
I agree, actually.
I also shared a clip there about the boys when they were discussing that kind of their favorite map in the game, right, in that lobby, in the kind of watch party they were doing. And it's interesting to hear the talking points on this. I definitely don't think Icebox is the best map in the game. Like, I think Split was a good map and probably not deserving of getting removed, but I don't think it was the best map by any means, certainly not for competitive integrity, let's say. The two for me that do stand out are probably Haven, as they mentioned, and also Ascent. I think Ascent to me is kind of, it's not exactly the quintessential Valorant map, but it's not far off, to be honest. So I think that to me, those two are probably the most iconic and maybe the best in my opinion. But I mean, yeah, Icebox isn't exactly the best, but it's still played relatively often. And talking of Icebox, here we go. Leviathan versus FPX yesterday. This was crazy to me. Like, you can honestly pinpoint the moment where Leviathan's tournament went downhill. They were 12-6 up game 1 on Icebox against Loud, right, in their series that they played first up. They then lost 8 rounds in a row, 6 in a row on the kind of regular time, 2 in overtime, 8 in a row. They then lost another 6 or 7, I think 7 in a row on this map as well. So Leviathan lost 15 straight rounds on Icebox before they won 1. Like, I mean, yeah, that is like not good at all. They end up losing this map 1 to FPX. The map 2 as well doesn't go their way either. So FPX played a great match here, but like, yeah, it's really tough for Leviathan because they looked so good in the group stages, and then they came through into this, into their, well, first couple of rounds. They choked pretty massively up against Loud, right? Especially the map, of course, on Icebox that we discussed, and yeah, that since then it's not gone so well. But we've seen this in the past, some teams the likes of, you know, DRX or something, right? These guys that, you know, maybe they have good results, but they can't quite convert it in big tournaments, and then over time they do get the results. But of course it is tough really now because Leviathan don't necessarily get to come back next season and go again, just because we don't know what happens in franchising, right? We don't know if Leviathan get a spot. They may well not get a spot. There's organizations out there like, you know, Furia and Loud and Crew, and these guys that you would imagine would get a spot ahead of Leviathan. So I suppose we'll see on that one, but this might be the last we ever see of this roster, which is kind of unfortunate given what they achieved in a short period of time, and I feel like they will think they could have done much better this tourney. But FPX at the end of the day, just too strong. They take down Leviathan, move through to the rest of the lower brackets, and it's crazy how stacked that is with EMEA teams actually. Only one EMEA team can get top 3 or better, and we'll see how the bracket plays out here in a couple of minutes time. Then let's talk about the next series. AlphaJair was really turning up in this one. It was great to see, honestly, because the series he played the other day, I think it's not like the pressure was, maybe the pressure was getting him to some degree, right? It did feel like in front of the crowd for his first ever series that, you know, it was a little bit difficult for him to play at his really peak performance. I think he had that one series in front of the crowds, and that was really getting into his groove, to be honest. And here we go, Fnatic versus Liquid. A great series for AlphaJair individually, but also for, well, honestly, Fnatic seemed to do rather well against Liquid kind of in these domestic games, and it converted itself. So at least the crowd gets a victory here. They got to cheer for the team that they wanted to win, and that team ended up winning. So yes, Haven, of course, in the game 2 as well. Game 1 went their way on binds. Game 2 was not particularly close. Turko was making some pretty ridiculous plays as well. So yeah, these guys deliver the goods. I mean, yeah, the 3k with their headhunter, that's going to do the damage. And like, maybe it's time like Fnatic are actually warming up in this tournament a bit, right? It's taken them quite a long time. But just looking at the names on their team, you know, like especially with AlphaJair and Turko when they're playing well, like just such a hard team to defeat. And Liquid obviously found that in this series. Scream will not win the World Championship this season, but I mean, yeah, that final shot as well was absolutely disgusting. And in the end, Fnatic take the victory. So they move on. They have not looked incredible so far this tournament, but we may well get Fnatic versus FPX again in the losers bracket. We may well get a very different set of matches though, because the teams in the losers bracket that are going to drop down today are not exactly walkovers by any means at all. So Fnatic got a great victory in front of their crowd. Like the crowd will be supporting Fnatic and AlphaJair for the rest of the tournament, and of course, well, they have quite a run to make. And FPX in the losers bracket are never any slouches either. This is the bracket then as it presently stands. hands. DRX, of course, beat FPX a couple of days ago. We now have these 2 games today. DRX Loud, OpTic versus xCET. So, like, crazy really, there's no EMEA teams in the upper bracket still, and that's the thing, with FPX and Fnatic as they are, one of these teams can still win the event, but like, they can't both get through to the lower final, for example, right? They can only get through maximum both teams top 4, and then one of them can get to top 3 and beyond. But yeah, as it stands right now, this is tough to call. DRX versus Loud. I think, to me, this is a key test for DRX again. I think that I would favor DRX here, but this is usually where DRX, like in many tournaments past, they will get to the upper semi-finals, or they will get to losers round 2, and then they will like start to falter and fall short, right? And we saw Leviathan do exactly that up against Loud, right? In this particular series, I mean, I talked about it earlier, but this Icebox, right, when it was, I guess we look at the overview here on Icebox, when it was, I mean, yeah, quite clearly 12-6 in their favor, lost 6 rounds in a row. This is what Loud can do to teams, and DRX will have to make sure they don't fall into that trap. I do think that DRX are probably the better team, but this is where in previous tournaments their kind of mental would collapse a bit, right? But I do think they've turned a corner here, and I'm going to take DRX to win this map. Then OpTic versus xCET. Domestically, xCET have generally struggled against OpTic, I think. It's a difficult one to call again, but I think that OpTic generally do incredibly well domestically. xCET, I think, probably maybe even better against international opponents than they are against their own kind of, you know, domestic region. So I think I'm going to take OpTic at 2-1, but I can see xCET winning this because, like, both of those teams are playing incredibly well, as are Cryo and Zekken right now, but I think I'm going to take OpTic to make it through to the upper finals. We could have another OpTic Loud match in the upper finals. That'd be immense. And then the losers of these matches, respectively, should drop into the opposing side. So if xCET were to lose, or if OpTic were to lose, they will go on to play FPX in the next round. So I think the loser of this plays the winner of this, effectively, and then DRX Loud, the loser of this, plays Fnatic, I believe, because otherwise the brackets aren't flipped, right? You can see that DRX played FPX, so you don't want them to play that match again, effectively. So it should flip around if Riot know what they are doing. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tell us on YouTube, God, this is a good video. I'd also like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Valorant community. Thank you much, as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.